Welcome to Listen and Learn English. I am happy you are here today, and I thank you for giving your time to this story. On this channel, we learn English by listening to real and powerful life stories. We do not only learn words, we also learn hope, courage, and how to move forward when life feels hard. When you listen, your English grows, and your heart also grows, and that is very important for your future. Today, we will talk about a famous name that many people know. The name is Nike. You see this name on shoes, shirts, and bags all over the world. Many people think Nike was always strong, always rich, and always successful. But this is not true. Long ago, Nike was very small, very weak, and very close to failure. This makes the story even more special. Imagine a tiny company with no big money, no big office, and no big team. Now imagine that this tiny company wants to stand next to the biggest brands in the world. It sounds crazy, but this is how Nike started. This story shows us a strong contrast between small and big, weak and strong, fear and courage. It shows us how a simple dream can grow into something that changes the world. This story is not only about shoes, it is about people. It is about one man with a dream and many moments of doubt, pain, and hope. It is about falling down and standing up again. It is about trying when others say no. Many of you may feel small in your own life. Maybe you feel afraid. Maybe you think you cannot reach your dreams. This story will speak to your heart. When you see Nike today, you see a bright logo and strong words like, "Just do it." But behind these words is a long road full of problems, mistakes, and hard days. There were times when Nike almost ended. There were times when people laughed and said it would never work. But something inside did not give up, and that something made all the difference. So I want to ask you a simple but powerful question. How did a small shoe company change the world? How did a few people with almost nothing build one of the most famous brands in history? These questions are not only about Nike, they are also about you and your life. If they could do it, maybe you can do it too. As we move into this story, keep your heart open and your mind ready. Listen to the struggles. Feel the fear. Enjoy the wins. Every part of this journey will help you learn English and also learn how to be stronger in life. We will walk step by step, just like Nike did, and we will see how small actions can lead to big change. Now, to really understand this great success, we must go back to the very beginning. We must go to a time before the fame, before the money, and before the world knew the name Nike. We must meet the young man with a simple dream and a big heart, because every great story starts with one small step, and this story is no different. In the next part, you will see how this dream first began in a quiet and simple way, with small shoes and big hope, and how the first hard choice started a long road that changed everything for this brave young man, and it will guide you gently into the heart of the true, a small dream in a big world. Phil Knight was a normal young man with a simple heart and a quiet dream. He was not rich, and he was not famous. He was just a man who loved to run. When he ran, he felt free. When he ran, he felt strong. Running gave him peace, even when life felt heavy. But even with this love, he did not have much money, and he did not have many chances in life. The world of business was very big and very hard. Large companies had power, and small people had almost none. Big brands made all the shoes, and they controlled the market. They had big offices, many workers, and a lot of money. Phil was only one person. He had no big office. He had no team. He had only an idea in his mind and hope in his heart. This made the contrast very clear. The world was huge, but he was small. Phil had a dream that felt too big for him. He wanted to sell better running shoes. He wanted to help runners like him feel good and strong. He believed that people needed shoes that were not too costly, but still good. Many people told him this was not possible. They said the big companies were too strong. They said a small man could not change anything. These words made him feel afraid, but they did not stop his dream. At night, Phil often sat alone and thought about his future. He asked himself many hard questions. Can I really do this? What if I fail? What if I lose everything? Fear was always close to him, like a shadow, but hope was also there, like a small light. This light was his dream, and it did not go out. Even when fear was loud, hope stayed quiet but strong. Phil did not want a life where he only worked for others. He wanted to build something of his own. He wanted to wake up each day with a reason to try. This wish was deep in his heart. It gave him energy when he felt tired. It gave him courage when he felt weak. He knew the road would not be easy, but he also knew that doing nothing was even worse. The big companies did not care about small runners like Phil. They cared about money and power. They did not listen to new ideas. This made Phil feel sad, but it also made him more sure about his dream. He saw a gap in the world. He saw a place where something new could grow. Even if it was small at first, it could become something great. Phil started to read and learn about business. He studied how shoes were made and sold. He used every small chance to grow his knowledge. He was not fast, but he was steady. Step by step, he moved closer to his dream. Many times he felt lost, but he kept going. This is what made him different from many others. People around him did not always understand him. Some laughed. Some said he was wasting his time. This hurt his heart, but it also made him stronger. When you walk a new road, you must walk alone at first. Phil learned this lesson early. He learned that believing in yourself is more important than hearing praise from others. Still, doubt never left him. He was human after all. Some days he felt brave and some days he felt small, but every day he kept his dream alive. He did not let it die. This was his true power, even when he felt weak. His dream was bigger than his fear. One day, Phil made a choice that changed his life. He decided to take a risk. He decided to move forward even without safety. This was not easy. It was scary. But he knew that dreams do not grow if you do nothing. With this first risky step, he began the journey that would soon lead him into his early struggle and the real test of his courage. This new path was full of unknown roads, and each road felt dark and long. Yet Phil walked with slow but firm steps, trusting his heart more than his fear. He did not know where the road would end, but he knew he had to begin. Every great change starts with one small move, and this was his. As he moved forward, the weight of the world seemed heavy, but his dream felt heavier. Soon, he would face real problems, real losses, and real pain, and these would shape him. That is why this moment matters so much, because it is the door to everything that comes next. The struggle to start. Phil Knight took his first real step into the world of business with shaking hands and a brave heart. He found a shoe company in Japan that made good running shoes at a low price. He believed these shoes could help runners in his country. He did not have a big plan or a lot of money. He only had a simple idea and strong hope. With this small deal, he started his long and hard journey. When Phil came back home, life did not become easy. In fact, it became harder. He had no office. He had no workers. He did not even have a place to store the shoes. His car became his office, his shop, and his storage room. He drove from one place to another, with boxes of shoes in the back of his small car. He knocked on doors, talked to store owners, and asked them to try his shoes. Many people looked at him with doubt. Most of the time, the answer was no. Some people did not trust him. Some people did not care. Some people said the big brands were already good enough. This was painful for Phil. He felt small in front of these big stores and strong companies. But inside his heart, his belief was still alive. He believed that his shoes could help people. He believed that runners needed something better. Every day, Phil woke up early and drove for many hours. He used his own hands to open boxes, show shoes, and explain his dream. His voice was calm, but his heart was full of fire. Even when people did not listen, he kept speaking. Even when people turned away, he kept walking. This was the true test of his dream. Money was always a big problem. Phil did not have much to start with, and every shoe he sold mattered. Sometimes he did not know how he would pay the next bill. Sometimes he did not know how he would buy more shoes. Fear sat next to him in the car. It whispered that he should stop and go back to a safe job. But Phil did not listen. He listened to his dream instead. There were days when he sold many shoes, and he felt hope. There were days when he sold none, and he felt pain. This up and down made his heart tired. Still, he did not quit. He knew that every new business must pass through dark days before it sees light. He trusted this truth, even when the road was hard. People often judged him by his small car and simple clothes. They did not see a strong businessman. They saw a weak seller. This hurt, but it also made Phil stronger. He learned not to care too much about how others see him. What mattered was how he saw his dream. He saw it growing, even when others could not. Sometimes, Phil felt very alone. He had no team to support him. He had no boss to guide him. He had only himself and his idea. This was heavy, but it was also free. He could move how he wanted. He could try new things. Every small win felt very big because he did it alone. Even when the world said no, Phil kept saying yes to his dream. He kept driving, selling, and believing. He was tired. His hands were sore. His heart was often afraid. But he did not stop. This was the only way he knew how to live. To him, giving up was worse than failing. At night, when he finally went home, his body was weak, but his mind was still busy. He thought about the next day. He planned where to go and who to talk to. He was scared of losing everything, but he was also excited about what could be. This mix of fear and hope pushed him forward. The more he struggled, the more he learned. He learned how to talk to people. He learned how to listen. He learned how to stay calm when things went wrong. These lessons were not easy, but they were strong. They were building him into someone new. As time passed, the road did not get smoother. In fact, it became harder. Money was low. Trust was still weak. Many doors were still closed. Phil was tired, broke, and scared. But even in this dark moment, he did not quit. He sat in his small car, looked at the boxes of shoes, and took a deep breath. His heart was heavy, but his dream was still alive. And as long as his dream was alive, he knew he had one more reason to keep going, even when the world felt cold and far away. Near failure and fear. Blue Ribbon Sports was the name of Phil Knight's small company, and it was now growing, but not in a safe way. More people were buying the shoes, yet more problems were coming too. The more shoes he sold, the more money he needed. This strange truth made him feel confused and scared. He thought selling more would make things easier, but it often made things harder. Hope was rising, but danger was rising too. The banks did not trust him. They saw a small company with small papers and big risk. When Phil went to ask for help, the people at the banks looked at him with cold eyes. They asked hard questions. They wanted strong proof. Phil tried to explain his dream, but dreams are not easy to put on paper. Many times, the answer was no. This made his heart feel heavy. Money problems began to grow like a dark cloud. Bills came every month. Shoes had to be paid for. Workers needed money. The small business was now a big weight on his shoulders. Some days he did not know how he would keep it alive. He felt like he was running on a thin road with deep water on both sides. At night, Phil could not sleep well. He lay in his bed and stared at the ceiling. His mind was full of fear. What if the money runs out? What if the banks say no again? What if everything ends? These thoughts did not stop. Even when his body was tired, his heart was not at rest. Still, inside this fear, a small hope was burning. He saw people wearing his shoes. He saw runners smiling. He saw something real in his work. This gave him strength, even when the danger felt close. The contrast between hope and fear made his days very long and heavy. Sometimes he wanted to give up. The stress was too much. The pressure was too strong. But then he remembered why he started. He remembered the small dream of helping runners. This memory gave him just enough power to keep going one more day. The company was always on the edge. One bad month could end it. One big bill could destroy it. This was not the success people imagine. This was a fight for survival. Phil was not living a rich life. He was living a brave life, full of risk and pain. People around him did not see this struggle. They saw shoes on shelves and thought everything was fine. But behind the scenes, it was chaos. Phil had to call banks, talk to workers, and make hard choices every day. His smile hid a tired heart. The pressure started to change him. He became more serious. He became more quiet. He carried his worry with him everywhere. Even when he was with family or friends, his mind was still on the company. This was the price of his dream. Sometimes he felt like he was losing control. The business was growing faster than his money. This made no sense, but it was real. The more he sold, the more he owed. This was a trap that could close at any time. Fear was not a feeling anymore. It was a daily partner. Yet, he did not walk away. He stayed in the storm. He faced every hard day. He kept asking for help, even when people said no. This was not because he was fearless. It was because he believed in what he was building. As time went on, the danger became clearer. The company could not keep going like this. Something had to change. Either they would find new support, or they would fall. Phil felt this truth in his bones. Every night he prayed for a way out. The story was at a turning point. Blue Ribbon Sports was close to becoming something great, but it was also close to ending. This is the painful truth about success. It is not a straight road. It is a thin bridge between hope and loss. Phil knew deep inside that something new must happen. A new idea, a new plan, or a new chance had to come. If it did not, everything he worked for could disappear. He stood at the edge, tired and afraid, but still holding on to his dream, waiting for the next door to open before it was too late. The birth of Nike. The hard days forced Phil Knight and his small team to think in a new way. Blue Ribbon Sports felt old and tired, like a coat that no longer fit. They needed a new name, a new face, and a new dream that could carry them forward. After many talks and many doubts, a simple but strong word appeared: Nike. It was the name of a Greek god of victory, and it sounded fast, bold, and alive. When Phil heard it, he felt a small spark in his heart. Changing the name was not only a business move, it was a moment of rebirth. The old company felt weak and small, but Nike felt strong and ready. It was like a new baby being born after a long and painful night. The past struggles did not disappear, but a new hope rose above them. Phil looked at the new name and felt that it was bigger than him. It was something that could grow beyond his fears. With the new name came a new symbol. A young designer made a simple mark that looked like a wing. This was the Nike logo. At first, it did not look special to many people, but to Phil, it was a sign of motion and courage. It showed speed, energy, and forward movement. This small shape carried a big idea, that you should always move forward, even when you feel weak. The contrast between the old and the new was very clear. Blue Ribbon Sports was quiet and unsure, but Nike was loud and proud. The old brand was only about selling shoes, but the new vision was about helping people believe in themselves. Nike was not just for runners anymore. It was for anyone who wanted to try, to push, and to become better. Phil and his team began to speak with more confidence. They talked about victory, about effort, and about never giving up. These words were not empty. They came from years of pain and struggle. When they shared this message, people started to listen. They felt something real behind the brand. Slowly, the company began to grow. More stores wanted to sell Nike shoes. More runners wanted to wear them. The money was still tight, but the feeling was different. There was a sense of direction now. The brand had a voice, and it was speaking clearly. Phil felt proud, but he also felt careful. He knew success could disappear as fast as it came. Still, he could not deny the change in the air. The new name gave him strength. It reminded him why he started this journey. It told him that even small people can build big dreams. The team worked hard to make Nike more than just a name. They listened to athletes. They made better shoes. They cared about quality and feeling. Every small improvement was a step forward. The brand was becoming alive. People outside the company began to notice. They saw the logo. They heard the name. It started to feel familiar. This was the start of something new. Nike was no longer just a small idea in Phil's mind. It was becoming a real force in the world. There were still many problems, but the spirit was different. Fear was slowly turning into belief. Doubt was turning into action. The company was walking a new path, and this path felt brighter. As Nike grew, so did the dream. It was not only about shoes now. It was about telling people they can do more than they think. This message was simple, but very powerful. The rebirth of the company changed everything. A weak brand became a strong vision. A tired team became a brave family. The new name gave them a new future. Step by step, Nike was rising, and as this new brand moved forward, the world started to look. Eyes were turning. Hearts were listening. Nike was no longer invisible. It was beginning to shine, and the world was starting to notice. This new attention felt strange to Phil, because he was still the same simple man inside. He still woke early, still worried about money, and still worked long days. Yet now, people spoke the name Nike with respect. This made him feel both happy and afraid. He knew that every new level brings new tests. Still, he chose to trust the vision that had brought them this far. With every pair of shoes, with every small sale, the story of Nike grew. Athletes began to talk about the comfort and the feeling of speed. Stores began to ask for more. Little by little, the future started to look wider. It was not perfect, but it was full of promise. The new name had given them a new heart, and this heart was beating strong. As they moved forward, Phil could feel that something big was coming, something that could change not only his life, but also the lives of many people who only wanted a chance to run, to dream, and to win. This quiet power was spreading, and even those who once said no were starting to feel curious, because a true dream has a way to touch people before they even understand why. It moves through time slowly, but it always leaves a mark on every open heart today. Just do it. The turning point. The words, "just do it," came like a simple wind, but they carried a strong power. When Nike shared these words with the world, everything started to change. Before, people saw Nike as only a shoe brand, but now they saw a message. The message was clear and brave. It said, "Do not wait, do not fear, and do not stop." It said, "Move now, even if you feel small." Many people in the world were full of doubt. They waited for the right time. They waited for more money. They waited for less fear. But this waiting kept them in the same place. Nike saw this and chose a different way. With Just Do It, Nike spoke to people who wanted to act, not just think. This was a strong contrast. One side was full of doubt, and the other side was full of action. Phil Knight felt this change deep in his heart. He knew these words were not only for selling shoes, they were for telling people to believe in themselves. When he looked back at his own life, he saw that he had lived these words. He had started when he was afraid. He had kept going when others said no. Now his story was inside this simple line. Nike began to speak to more than athletes. It spoke to students, to workers, to parents, and to dreamers. It said, "You do not need to be perfect to start. You only need to try." This made many people feel seen. They felt that Nike understood their quiet hopes and hidden fears. The slogan became a light for those in the dark. When people heard "Just Do It," they felt a push in their hearts. They felt that maybe today could be different. Maybe they could take one small step. This was not loud or proud. It was soft, but strong. Some people still doubted. They said it was just words. They said nothing would change, but others listened and moved. They ran, they trained, they tried new things. They failed and tried again. These people felt alive, and Nike walked with them. The contrast between doubters and doers became clear. Doubters stayed where they were. Doers moved forward. Nike did not judge. It only invited. It said the door is open, and you can walk through it. As the message spread, Nike grew stronger. More people wore the shoes, not only because of style, but because of meaning. The brand became a friend on hard days. It whispered courage when fear was loud. Phil watched this with wonder. His small dream had become a big voice. He saw how one simple line could touch many hearts. This made him feel proud and humble at the same time. The company did not forget its past. It remembered the fear, the money trouble, and the long nights. These memories gave the slogan its truth. It was not empty. It was real. Nike was now more than a business. It was a story of trying. It was a song of effort. It was a promise that no one is too small to begin. People around the world started to share this message. They told friends. They told family. The words became part of daily life. When someone felt weak, they remembered, just do it. This was the emotional heart of the journey. A small idea had become a big fire. It warmed people who felt cold. It gave light to those who felt lost. Nike had become a voice for dreamers. It spoke for those who had no stage. It spoke for those who wanted to be more. And with every step, every run, and every brave try, the message lived on, strong and true, guiding many hearts toward a future filled with hope and action. The story kept moving as more people felt this call. A young runner in a small town heard the words and decided to train again. A tired worker saw the logo and chose to walk one more mile. A shy student opened a book and started to learn. These small acts looked simple, but together they made a big wave. Nike did not tell people to be great. It told them to start, and this start changed lives. Phil saw letters and heard stories from people who felt stronger because they tried. This made him smile. The future was still unknown, but the path was clear, and every brave step, no matter how small, was a victory that built a better tomorrow for all who believed. This spirit stayed alive in every heart that chose to move forward always. Rising to the top, Nike began to rise like the sun after a long, dark night. What was once a small dream in a young man's heart was now seen in many countries around the world. People who once did not know the name Nike were now wearing it on their feet and on their shirts. Stores that once said no were now asking for more. The small company was becoming a big name. Phil Knight often thought about his old days. He remembered driving his small car with boxes of shoes in the back, hoping someone would listen. Now he saw big buildings, many workers, and strong teams. The contrast was clear. The man who once begged for a chance was now leading a world-famous brand. This change did not happen by luck. It happened because he did not quit when things were hard. Athletes began to wear Nike with pride. They ran faster, they jumped higher, they won races and games. When people saw these athletes, they saw the Nike logo too. This made the brand grow even more. It was not just about shoes anymore. It was about strength, effort, and winning. Phil watched this with quiet joy. His dream was no longer small. It was living in stadiums, on streets, and in hearts. He felt thankful for every hard day that had brought him here. Every no had made the yes sweeter. But Phil did not forget the struggle. He remembered the fear, the money trouble, and the lonely nights. These memories kept him grounded. They reminded him that success is not easy, and it can leave as fast as it comes. The world now saw Nike as a leader. People looked to it for style and meaning. The company spoke with a strong voice. It told people to move, to try, and to believe. This voice was heard far and wide. Phil felt proud, but he also felt careful. He knew that being on top brings new tests. Big companies watched Nike closely. They wanted to compete. They wanted to win. The game was changing again. Still, Phil was ready. He had learned to walk through fear. He had learned to keep going when things felt heavy. These lessons were his true power. Nike continued to grow. New shoes, new ideas, and new stories filled the world. Each step forward was built on the past. Each win was built on many losses. Phil's heart was full. He saw that his small dream had touched many lives. This was more than he had ever hoped for. Yet, even as Nike reached the top, the journey was not over. Success brings new challenges and new storms always come. But with courage and belief, the story would continue, moving forward into the next chapter of this great and human journey. Hard times again. Even after success, Nike felt new weight. The bright lights of fame were warm, but they also showed every small mistake. Phil and his team felt eyes on them all the time. People talked, judged, and asked for more. This was not the easy life many people imagine. It was loud and heavy. Inside, Phil remembered the quiet days in his car, and he knew pressure had changed shape, but not gone. It was still there, pushing on his heart each day as he worked to protect the dream he loved so much, even when stress felt strong and sharp. Critics began to speak when Nike grew. Some said the shoes were not fair. Some said the workers were not treated well. These words hurt like cold rain. Phil felt sad and worried. He wanted to do good, not harm. The contrast was clear. Nike was winning on the outside, but inside, there was pain. The team had to listen and learn. They could not hide from hard truth. Every strong brand must face its own shadow. Phil chose to look at it with open eyes so he could find a better way forward for everyone who trusted the name. Mistakes also came with speed. Some plans failed. Some shoes did not sell. Big stores made strong demands. This was not simple anymore. The success that once felt light now felt heavy. Phil carried this weight with care. He met with his team and talked about what went wrong. They did not point fingers. They tried to grow. Even winners must learn. This truth stayed with them each day. The road to the top is full of bumps. You fall and you rise again. Nike was learning how to stand tall after every small and big mistake on its long journey. Pressure came from all sides. Workers needed safe jobs. Fans wanted great shoes. The world wanted answers. Phil felt this like a storm, yet he did not run away. He faced it with calm. He remembered the fear of losing everything before. That memory made him brave. The contrast was strong. Nike was rich, but peace was not. Still, Phil chose to work with honesty. He talked to people and tried to fix what was broken. This slow care kept the heart of the company alive when stress felt deep and loud in every long and tiring day of work. Even with all this, Nike did not stop. It kept making better shoes. It kept telling people to move. The dream was still there. Phil knew that pain can teach. It shows what must change. The contrast was clear. Winning brought stress, but it also brought growth. The team used hard words to make strong plans. They wanted to respect everyone who touched Nike. This care made the brand deeper and more real. When you listen, you grow. When you change, you become better. Nike was learning this again with each new hard moment in its busy and bright world. Fans also felt the shift. Some were upset, some were proud. This mix showed how big Nike had become. Phil did not want to lose the human touch. He told stories of runners and dreamers. He kept the message clear. Try again, even when you fail. This kept the heart of the brand strong. The contrast was still there. Big money, but small hopes. Nike chose to hold those hopes with care. It wanted to be a friend, not just a name. This choice made the future feel warmer for many people who looked to Nike for courage each new day. In the end, Phil and Nike made a simple choice. They chose to improve. Not to be perfect, but to be better. The stress and noise did not go away, but the will to learn grew strong. This is the true win. Even at the top, you must keep moving. Nike looked at its mistakes and used them like steps. Step by step, it climbed again. This shows every dreamer that success is not a soft bed. It is a long road. Nike stayed on that road with open eyes and a kind heart, ready to grow and change always. What we can learn from Nike. The story of Nike is not only about shoes and business, it is about life. It shows us that every big thing starts small. Phil Knight began with no money and many fears, yet he kept moving. This teaches us to believe in ourselves even when the world does not. When you look at your own life, you may feel small, just like Phil did, but inside you is a dream waiting to grow. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to take the first step, even if your hands shake and your heart feels unsure today. Many people wait for the right time. They wait for more money, more skill, or less fear. But waiting keeps them in the same place. Nike chose to act. Phil sold shoes from his car when he had no store. He tried when others said no. This is the big contrast. One group waits and stays still. The other group moves and grows. You can choose which group you belong to. When you act, even in a small way, you change your future. One small step today can become a long road tomorrow if you keep walking. Nike also teaches us not to quit. There were many times when the company almost failed. Banks said no. Money was low. Stress was high. Yet Phil did not stop. He stayed in the fight. In your own life, you may face days when everything feels wrong. You may feel tired, sad, or afraid. These days do not mean you should quit. They mean you are learning. Every hard moment builds strength inside you. Like a runner who trains in pain, you become stronger when you keep going through trouble. Taking small steps is another lesson. Nike did not become big in one day. It grew slowly, step by step. One shoe, one store, one runner at a time. This is how real change works. In your life, you do not need to do everything at once. You only need to do something today. Read one page, learn one word, walk 1 mile. These small actions add up. Over time, they can take you far, just like they did for Nike. Acting when afraid is also key. Fear was always with Phil. He felt it when he asked banks for help. He felt it when he sold shoes. He felt it when he changed the company name. But fear did not stop him. He moved with fear, not without it. This is important for you too. You do not need to wait until fear is gone. You need to move even when fear is loud. When you do this, fear gets smaller and courage gets bigger. Nike's story is like a mirror. You can see your own life in it. You may not sell shoes, but you have dreams. You may not run a company, but you run your own life. The choice is the same. Will you wait or will you do? Will you stay small or will you try? When you choose to act, you become part of the group that moves forward. This story also shows that success is not easy. Even when Nike became famous, problems came. This means that no life is free from struggle. But struggle does not mean failure. It means you are alive and growing. When you meet hard days, remember Nike. Remember Phil in his small car. Remember that every strong person was once weak. So take these lessons into your own heart. Believe in yourself. Do not quit. Take small steps. Act even when afraid. These simple ideas can change your life. Just like Nike, you can start small and grow strong. Your journey is waiting, and the next step is in front of you right now. You have walked a long road with this story, and now you stand at a special place. Just like Phil Knight at the start, you may feel small, quiet, and unsure. You may not have much money or many chances, but inside you, there is a dream. This dream is real, even if no one else sees it yet. Phil once sat in a small car with boxes of shoes and big fear, but also with big hope. Today, you sit with your own hopes. This is where every great story begins. Look at the contrast between who you are now and who you can become. Maybe today you feel shy when you speak English. Maybe you feel slow when you read. Maybe you think you are not good enough. But the future, you can be brave, clear, and strong. Just like Nike, you can grow step by step. Every word you learn is a small win. Every minute you listen is a step forward. You are building something inside your mind and heart. Do not wait for a perfect day. Phil did not wait. He started when he was afraid. You can start too. Speak one word, write one line, listen to one story. These small actions will change your life. They will open doors. They will give you confidence. The road is long, but you do not walk alone. We walk together here. Keep learning English. It is more than a language. It is a key to the world. With English, you can read, travel, work, and dream bigger. When it feels hard, remember Nike. Remember how many times they almost failed. They kept going. You can do the same. There will be days when you feel tired. There will be days when you want to quit. On those days, remember this story. Remember Phil in the dark nights. Remember how he chose hope over fear. You can choose that too. You are not too small. You are not too late. You are right where you need to be. The next step is yours. Thank you for listening. Thank you for learning. Thank you for being brave. If this story helped you, please like this video. If you want more stories like this, please subscribe to Listen and Learn English. Share this video with someone who needs hope. Write a comment and tell us about your dream. Together, we can grow. Together, we can learn. Together, we can do it.